And this thing is getting even more bizarre. One of the key allegations in her complaint against Justin Baldoni, she writes, on another occasion, Mr. Baldoni and Ms. Lively were filming a slow dance scene for a montage in which Mr. Baldoni chose to let the camera roll and have them perform the scene, but did not act in character as Ryle. At one point, he leaned forward and slowly dragged his lips and down her neck. Mr. Baldoni was caressing Ms. Lively with his mouth. When Ms. Lively later objected to this behavior, Mr. Baldoni's response was, "I'm not even attracted to you." Well, guess what? And you can hear Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni interacting as themselves. No such moment is shown. They're acting like lovers.
And my nose is so big.
That's her big harassment moment. They are playfully acting. She's completely flirtatious with him. He is flirtatious back, but they're talking about their spouses. She doesn't say, "Oh my God, you nuzzled me and said that I smell good." She, like, time and time again, she accuses him of doing something, which then when you hear the full context, she said, he came in my trailer while I was breastfeeding. Well, then he produced the text messages showing her saying, "I'm breastfeeding, come on over." She accused his producing partner of showing her pornography, absolutely non-pornographic. Can't see any body parts. You can just see that two people clearly are in a bathtub holding their baby. You tell me whether that's what that looks like to you. She wants us to believe this is actionable harassment, what we just witnessed there, where she filed her lawsuit against him, saying this is all retaliatory and asking the court to shut him and Brian Friedman up because they're trying to try this case in the media. The only reason this whole thing got started, before she filed the lawsuit, she clearly cooperated with the New York Times to leak the whole thing. Indeed, that's, Brian argues, the reason she went and filed the complaint with the Human Rights Division. She alleges that she's a Me Too victim there. That's absurd. I will happily participate in releasing any further leaks that they have. What does she have to fear if she's telling the truth?
Are we in danger of losing the battle against real abuse because of Blake Lively's unexpected altercation with Justin Baldoni? These two well-liked celebrities have been in the spotlight for a lot of time lately due to a barrage of accusations, leaked messages, and contentious interviews. An actress arguing with her director and co-star, or two personalities clashing over creative differences, could initially appear to be just another Hollywood feud. However, something much more serious is going on beneath the surface, and it might spread beyond the gossip columns. Media personality Megyn Kelly has come forward to draw attention to this particular risk. Real survivors may be more skeptical if it turns out that Blake's accusations against Justin are fabricated or manipulated. Before we get into the specific accusations, let's look at why Megyn Kelly and a lot of other people think this feud goes far beyond celebrity rumors and could taint sincere attempts to combat wrongdoing. Megyn Kelly has never shied away from contentious subjects, and she hasn't held back when it comes to the Blake versus Justin dispute. According to her, the experiences of actual victims may be undermined whenever accusations in a well-known case seem to have been exaggerated or taken out of context. Although Blake Lively maintains that she was uncomfortably coerced or even harassed in some situations, the information coming out of Justin Baldoni's legal team appears to paint a very different picture. Kelly's fear is simple. If a megastar uses accusations as leverage, whether for career advantage, personal gain, or damage control, it has a cascading effect that permeates daily life and may cause people to question her motivation. Numerous women who have experienced real trauma may feel devalued or disbelieved when the claims made by yet another celebrity prove to be false. This is about how easily a public narrative can overshadow real stories of harassment, not just about a scandal involving an actress who may have wanted control over a movie. Observers may question whether all well-known accusations are similarly exaggerated if Blake's claims turn out to be false. Regardless of your opinion of either celebrity, it's important to realize that false narratives, if they are true, cause genuine harm to actual survivors in ways that cannot be remedied by a fresh round of headlines. That's precisely the perception Kelly is fighting against. As the warning from Megyn Kelly reverberates in the background, we resort to a strategy that has all too frequently been used in high-profile Hollywood disputes: the gag order, according to several reports. According to reports, Lively's team requested that the court issue a broad order prohibiting Justin Baldoni, his attorneys, and possibly even Kelly's camp from disclosing any additional emails, texts, or video footage that might refute Blake's claims. Essentially, Blake may be hoping the legal system can assist her in maintaining control over a collapsing narrative following a flurry of negative press and contradicting leaks. However, it appears that Justin Baldoni is not going to remain silent. According to sources, he is vigorously opposing the proposed gag order, stating that he has every right to publish information that supports his reputation. Until now, Blake's official statements have been radically contradicted by those text messages and behind-the-scenes videos. According to her lawsuit and public claims, Justin frequently crossed boundaries, intruded into her personal space, and put her under pressure in ways that bothered her. However, a number of messages seem to show Blake inviting him to her trailer, even in private, as though she were in charge of deciding how approachable she wanted to be. Justin has made it apparent thus far that he will not back down, particularly if he believes the public has only been given fragments of the larger picture. Blake Lively has always been renowned for her polished appearance, but as fans watched different videos of her previous interactions, that appearance began to fade. According to some watchers, she frequently came across as patronizing during interviews by rolling her eyes in response to specific questions, interrupting the interviewer, or changing the topic to focus on her own accomplishments or projects. Others observed her tendency to minimize her coworkers' contributions while highlighting her own by making disparaging remarks about them. When significant news outlets began reporting on the story outside of the usual gossip websites, this change in public opinion reached a tipping point. Additional people started looking into Blake's interviews. She is paying attention to what she is saying and pointing out any contradictions. As they dug deeper, they discovered more evidence that suggested her claims might not be true. At that point, it became clear to everyone that this was no minor quarrel, but rather a full-fledged public relations battle that could undermine trust in all sides and possibly obscure serious abuse cases that needed attention. Skepticism regarding Blake's claims grew as soon as Justin Baldoni's team started publishing text messages. The fact that Blake's own phone was used to send these messages made them particularly illuminating. In one thread, she was the one who first made contact, inviting Justin into her personal space and demonstrating her willingness to have a close, professional relationship with him, such as practicing lines or talking about character development in settings or at times of day that one wouldn't typically discuss with a coworker. It was more difficult to accept that Justin was the relentless boundary crosser she portrayed in her lawsuit because of this seeming transparency. Her position was further undermined by leaked video of slow dance sequences that Blake described as awkward or offensive. Blake had maintained that there was no audio on the original recordings, but there was. While their microphones captured every word, she and Justin seemed to be having a lighthearted conversation about spouses and other everyday topics in those recordings. There are moments when it sounds less like a predatory scenario and more like two coworkers idly passing the time between takes. Blake's detractors contend that what she claimed was proof of wrongdoing is actually fairly commonplace, and that she might be using out-of-context statements or gestures to support her claim. As if these inconsistencies weren't enough, other rumors have suggested that Blake is attempting to take over the movie and obscure the original idea. For instance, according to insiders, she produced the film's edit on her own without Justin's help, which is unusual for a leading actor. It's uncommon for a well-known person to lock themselves in a separate post-production room and work on a competing cut, even if they have a lot of influence. However, according to insiders who are quoting memos and messages, Blake allegedly threatened to stop promoting the movie unless her version was used. Ryan Reynolds' eyebrows are raised even higher by one purported detail. Some scenes were written or changed by Blake's husband without Justin's input. Although it is not uncommon for actor spouses to casually make suggestions about lions or humorous beats, doing so without the official director or writer's knowledge is against standard procedure. Blake may have marginalized Justin's authority by bringing her inner circle into the creative process because she believes she had enough clout. Taylor Swift, the best friend, is also alleged to have been used as a means of intimidation. Blake even compared herself to a strong character in a fantasy series, calling Ryan and Taylor her dragons and boasting that they could defend her in public if necessary, according to some messages. Furthermore, it seems that Justin was not permitted to attend the movie's premiere with the cast. For a creative mind that had put so much effort into writing, directing, and acting in the project, he later described how he and his own family were practically exiled to the basement and prevented from participating in the event. It must have felt like a calculated attempt to remove him from the limelight. Instead of participating in the grand celebration, he was forced to watch from the sidelines while Blake took center stage. Blake's detractors claim that this is proof of a larger plot, portraying Justin as a monster so she could take the moral high ground and possibly take creative credit away from him. She might be able to justify her own decisions, pushing her own cut and overshadowing the entire production if she could persuade the public and the courts that she had been mistreated. The more leaked messages surface, the more people are referring to these maneuvers as a carefully planned power play, though of course that is still conjecture. In the end, the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni saga is still far from over, and court proceedings and possible gag orders will probably influence what we find out in the upcoming weeks. Blake's claims may be supported or refuted by additional text messages, secret documents, or behind-the-scenes accounts. Already, as new details of the puzzle emerge, public opinion has drastically changed, but we might still be overlooking important viewpoints that could provide new insight into what actually transpired. The most notable aspect of this dispute is how it has evolved over time to involve more than just two celebrities fighting over a movie project. It turns into a warning about the need to carefully consider accusations, especially when they involve misconduct. Every new disclosure raises the question of whether Blake's allegations are true or if she was attempting to portray herself as a victim in order to preserve her reputation and career. In the meantime, Justin's reputation is on the line, and he must prove his innocence in front of the public, which can be a harsh and unjust tribunal. Megyn Kelly's warning that false or exaggerated stories can seriously harm women who desperately need society's belief and support is one that strikes a chord beyond the celebrity world. The public grows increasingly wary of future claims, even though supported by substantial evidence, whenever a well-known figure's storyline breaks down in the face of conflicting evidence. That skepticism is a painful price paid by real survivors who witnessed their own experiences being called into question due to dubious claims made by others. So, what are our next steps? As viewers, we can maintain an open mind, recognize the distinction between genuine miscommunication and potentially exaggerated publicity stunts, demand proof rather than accepting every dramatic headline at face value, and never forget that despite all the glitz and glamour, celebrities are still fallible human beings who are prone to errors, deceptions, and self-serving strategies. In the end, it is up to each of us to sort through the confusion, draw our own conclusions, and maintain our vigilance so that actual victims are acknowledged and heard, rather than grouped together with people who might be manipulating reality to suit their own interests. If you've read this far in the narrative, consider whether Blake's accusations are the result of a real abuse experience or a botched ploy. Is Justin really to blame, or is he just another Hollywood star having to stand up for himself in a highly divisive setting? Even though we don't yet have all the answers, one thing is certain. In a conflict driven by strong players, the real survivors frequently run the risk of being abandoned, and none of us should ignore that fact. As this feud unravels, we can only anticipate more revelations, so don't forget to voice your opinions and continue the conversation. The deeper lesson is always the same, regardless of how dramatic the headlines are. Until the whole truth is revealed, we must proceed with caution and keep an eye out for the distinction between sincere requests for assistance and carefully crafted narratives that could endanger the very people they are meant to protect. There's always more to learn as the narrative progresses. Thank you for tuning in. To ensure you are the first to know when more secrets are revealed, please subscribe and click the notification bell.